Today's podcast is brought to you by Inverted Gear. For all your jiu-jitsu needs, go to invertedgear.com. Save 15% off if you type in the coupon code ShowTheArt15 with no spaces. Our next sponsor is Chimera Coffee. That's Chimera Coffee with a K. They are a coffee brand that infused their coffee with nootropics. If you don't know what nootropics are, Google it. They can do a much better job at explaining it than I can. Go to chimeracoffee.com, type in the coupon code ShowTheArt for a nice little discount. Enjoy. Hello.
Hello, Big Abe.
Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
Good, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm excellent, man. What's going on?
Nothing much, but I'm so sorry, man. I was trying to get to the phone. It's just been a nuts morning. My mornings are usually pretty nuts from like 5 a.m. on. So, I was just training Munoz. It's funny. I haven't seen him in a while, but we've been training with him last couple weeks, trying to get it back in shape.
Nice, man. And you're talking about the Mark Munoz. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mark. Yeah. He's a good friend. We trained together for so many years. Great guy and good for like family to me. So he's just trying to get back. He's got a couple big projects coming up. So he reached out to me because he wanted to get in shape pretty quick. So was working with him.
Awesome, man. And you have a busy schedule, I'm sure. I keep seeing you getting caught up in all these new projects and stuff like that. Man, this guy's one of the busiest guys in the game.
Yeah, it's just been crazy, man. Things have just been, it's been blessed. I've been blessed, but things have just been exploding, just with my training and just things that spin off from that, from the meal plan, meal prep stuff, to just the branding and all the stuff. So it's just good, bro. Like, it's all love, and I just love spreading the movement and just teaching guys a little bit more about how to train efficiently. So
sure. And M120, that's your company. That's a meal plan company, or is it an actual restaurant?
Yeah, it's a meal prep. So basically, what we did is one of my partners. I'm the main shareholder, but main partner. But one of my partners, Gene, he was the executive chef for Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta in Vegas. He was also head chef of Roy's, executive chef for Elton John. But he and I had talked. He's a Haleiwa boy from Hawaii, and he had reached out, and we had talked, and we actually met through some mutual friends and talked for a bit. And he was looking to do something. Before he was in Vegas, he was in Florida working with another meal prep company, and he always wanted to do different things. So when he went to Vegas, started working for Lorenzo, and then we reached back out, and then I basically moved him out here when I started in 120. Just with the meal prep, I saw how the meal prep industry was going. There's a lot of guys doing it, mostly mom and pop kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Broiled chicken and, steamed broccoli and stuff. But, when I brought him in, he was on Top Chef and he's executive trained. Yeah. So
nice.
When I brought him on, he makes like, macadamia encrusted ahi with baby bok choy with a balsamic reduction, that kind of stuff. Crazy executed dishes. So, like I said, the plating is beautiful. So we did it. We launched that, and then dialed that in, and it's all macroed out, organic produce, grass-fed meats, wild-caught fish. So I did that, and thing just exploded. So we have from everyday people to like Hafa Mendez and the guys now on AOJ. The whole crew's on there. So Hafa's on our plan. All the guys from RULK. I just got back. Training Makua Rockman in Hawaii. So Makua is even in Hawaii. So for us, it's just managing the growth, because it's been it just exploded, because I think there's a niche in the market that we fulfilled, and just trying to keep up with it's been pretty nuts.
Yeah, man. One thing I notice about these meal prep companies is a lot of times it tastes like that wedding food, like like broiled. Like everything's boiled, bro. And like the chicken's boiled with the potatoes are boiled, the asparagus is boiled, and everything tastes exactly the same.
Bro, I'm telling you, man, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and it's like, that was one of the things, man, that when we first started it out, is that people were just like, stick to the plan. If you're cutting weight for a competition or a fight, it's fine. People eat whatever they have to, but most people in general just want to eat good tasting food,
Yep.
So Eugene was just unique because he was kind of an edgy chef to begin with. He was on Top Chef. He knows how to cook with, using all these ingredients, like, no added salt or sugar and all these things, but he can make it amazing, So, he was just the right guy. So for us, it's just from him, and then hiring on more, sous chefs and line chefs and kitchen staff. It's just been crazy. It's a good problem, yeah. But,
So you guys are running
just
it like a restaurant, like you're trying
pretty
to
much, but
serve
yeah,
good restaurant type food.
yeah, pretty much. We have two deliveries, do 2 deliveries a week. So we have our delivery guys come out, but it's all fresh. So the guys go out, they get all the produce, they get all the meats. We have all our seafood now flown in from Hawaii, local seafood. So they get them in. He just starts cooking. It's like it runs. When we first started, he was just cranking out, a few meals here and there. But now, like his last run, we did over 1,800 meals in one evening. No, in one night.
Oh,
they did 1,800.
God.
Yeah, they did 1,800 meals. And then, it's been nuts, because like the pricing is pretty solid, and if you break it down per meal, because people get like 21 meals, 14 snacks. So it's basically for the whole week.
Okay.
I think it's we priced it at $169. So, but that's for the whole week of food.
That's not bad, man.
Yeah. So it's been pretty gnarly, bro, because we have that. And then, so it's more about us just trying to expand. I mean, Vegas wants us out there, San Diego, LA. But for deliveries, it's just to keep maintaining that level of quality. We're probably just going to be opening up satellite kitchens at satellite pods in every city and expanding. So the brand's been solid, and M120, it comes back to that whole my Mission 120. And so everything's tied back into my stuff and the brand, which is solid. And I'm pretty proud of it, dude. So it's good stuff.
Please explain, like you said, Mission 120, your brand, M120.
Yeah, Mission 120 was something that started. It was funny how it started. I have 2 boys, but my oldest son had asked me once. He said, "Hey, Dad, what's 100%? What is that? I've heard it all the time. People say, give it 100%. What does that mean?" And I was trying to express to him, that's trying to give your best and do your very best in whatever you do, and if you're doing sports or in school or whatever, it's to try your best. And he asked me, he goes, is there anything more than 100%? I mean, is that it? And so I thought about it.
Smart kid, man. Smart kid.
Private school, bro. They better be. Like, I better figure out a private school. You better figure something out, you cure some disease. But he asked me that. So he said, so I thought about it, and then I remember, working with a lot of the sprinters and different guys who run through the tape, run through. They always say, if you want max speed, and I even learned that, when I was in college in my tennis classes, is just when you're going, you got to get max speed, because when you decelerate, you're not really running it at your full maximum. So it's always people tell you all the time, run past the tape, run, if you're going to run, if you're going to punch through something, if you're going to run through it. So I told him, there's 120%. I said 120% is actually doing more than you think you can, just giving absolutely everything. Because if you do, you lay it all out there, and then you'll reach your 100%, because you're actually reaching past it, and, it was something too that when I first started that, he asked me, he looked back at me and said, "Hey, Dad, do you do that?" And at the time I was like, oh man, it was like a reality check.
So is your son your psychologist, or is he your kid?
Yes, at the time I was sitting on the couch and smoking a pipe, but it was good. But no, it was clarity. I mean, sometimes it's funny how, you get clarity from kids and from your children. It's weird, but, it really motivated me at that time to say, I'm just going to give everything I have in everything I do, from training, from my own training to, training people, working with people, and anything. You just try to give your best. And I'm starting to see the fruits of that. And I think I love to see people push past their limits and do more than they believe is possible, because when they do, that's when the magic happens, in every sport and everything. So that was just kind of the basis or the origin for Mission 120, or the genesis, if you will. And then from that, it just kind of expanded. I integrated that into my training and tried to indoctrinate that into some of my guys to get certified into my curriculum, so that they can get out there and work with their athletes and their clients. And then, when M120 came out, it was just about being another next level meal prep. And when we did that, I just thought the name fit and kind of stuck, and we went from there.
That's awesome, man. And that concept is so important, because we all put limitations on ourselves so that we don't get hurt. We don't hurt our feelings. We don't hurt our bodies. But you never truly reach that 100% if you aim for it. But if you aim a little higher, you may indeed wind up in 100%. I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, it was funny because Henner Gracie was a really good friend of mine. I've known him since he was young, and even Henner believed that. He brought up a great point too when I was bringing up Mission 120, and he was like, you're 100%. Once you reach your 100%, it's no longer your 100% because you can go farther, right? You know where it's at. So now you can push past it again.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into line of kind of how my training does. I mean, a lot of my training is with functional movement patterns and working with your nervous system. But, I remember reading, I mean, even when I was a kid, I think we all have documented times when you get like the 7-year-old woman that can lift a car and she can harness, you know what I mean? Like she can, and it's like really like not even like folklore. It's like there's actual like documented like things that have happened. And
sure.
So you always look at that and when you work with, military, if you work with the SEALs or whoever you're working with, that they understand, that, if you could, your brain, like just puts limitations on so much of what you do, from how you think to how you perform. And
sure.
If you're able to push it and train it to push past it and work with that, and the nervous system is kind of the motherboard for everything, So if you're able to kind of train it and kind of get it at the highest level of efficiency, I mean, that's when the magic starts happening. And that's when guys start doing stuff that is kind of nuts,
Yeah.
So,
just to piggyback off that, Forrest Griffin's first book, I forgot what it was called, but he said something about that in his book. He said, when I'm training for a fight, I try to push myself so hard that I reach that point where I do not want to continue. And that's my aiming point. And once I get to that point in training, I push past it so that when the fight happens, I'm used to that. And that's no longer my cap. I have a new cap, like you said. And I thought that was super interesting. Does that go along with what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that's pretty much what I was saying with regards to, as far as the mental component of pushing past. I mean, there's so many limitations that you put on yourself. And I know when I work with a lot of fighters for camps, and, the hard thing is always to mitigate injury. Most of the guys get in and it's just a matter of like train hard, but don't train so crazy that, train smart. You see the guys, as they get older too, as fighters, they're like, I used to train crazy, spar every day. And now I just train smart and hit mitts and do what I need to do and mitigate injury. But it's all about, you can push yourself and push your mental component in other ways than just banging. You know what I mean? They're really just going. You can push it in other ways where your body wants to break. And I think when you start to train your body to push past those breaking points, that's when the stuff really affects whatever sport you're in or for whatever reason you're going to do. I mean, look at people that aren't even in athletics that are just, they're struggling with whatever, obesity or losing weight or, they have issues. And it's always just, there's so many mental blocks that go into it, and to just kind of deconstruct that and pull them apart and then really get your brain working on an optimal level again is really what you need to do. But in order to do that, it starts off in the bare bones of actually just pushing through something that is uncomfortable, and putting yourself in that situation. So yeah, I agree. I think Forrest was accurate with that. So definitely.
Yeah. Now, this is the first chance I ever got to actually have a conversation with you. And when you speak, and I'm not just saying this because we're talking, but you're a very inspiring guy. And one thing I noticed that really got me to follow your page was all the things you posted on your Instagram, all the inspiring lifts that you've done and all the motivational things you say. So that brings me back to my question.
Yeah.
Who inspires you and who inspired you? In any way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. There's so many people. I think all of us have people that inspire us in different capacities. I mean, in athletics, I love looking at, soldiers. Soldiers, inspire me. People that put their life on the line. People that do things that are kind of selfless. I just, for me, when I do stuff, I try to do things that maybe not everyone would do. I mean, one of the things, for example, right now I'm training for is to crawl a 5K. So actually, so no one's ever, I've worked with a lot of strong men, world's strongest man. I've worked with a lot of, world power lifters, and I'm pretty strong. There's a lot of guys that are extremely strong and do those things, but lifting weight once, that's hard. It takes a lot of harness, and I have a high level of respect for those kind of guys, but doing things like in a position like a crawl position where your body's in that horizontal plane and having to work and have to drive through and do that for actually a 5K is something those are things that intrigue me. You know what I mean? Those are things that are that inspire me, because really all these, I love to see people overcome adversity. So whether it be, someone who's overcome adversity for, because they're in a financial situation, or adversity because they have some type of a medical illness or whatever. So I find a lot of inspiration in people just overall. You could find it anywhere. You just have to look for it,
Okay.
And
inspiration is so contagious.
Yeah, it is, bro. It's, the thing is, like, everyone says, you hear about all the time people saying, hey man, be positive, be a positive guy, but really it's just a matter of, it's trying to inspire. And in order to try to inspire, you really have to just focus on doing things that you believe that maybe you can't do. That's something that you're like, I don't think I can do that. Well, try to overcome it. I think that's why you see, like, for example, in the fitness community, that Spartan racing and OCR is really starting to bypass even CrossFit. It's just because CrossFit is still in that whole, like, who's stronger, who's the fastest, who's the best.
Okay.
Where OCR is more about, in those races is just finish. Just, against yourself, do something you think you can't do and overcome it.
I see.
So I think that's, once again, I think that's where in sports or anything, it's just a matter of trying to find something that you believe in and that makes you feel, because it carries over. That carries over to your work, carries over to your family, carries over to your friends.
Yeah.
All relationships. So
I have another question about inspiration, especially for the layman person, the average person that's not like reaching a certain feat. A certain impressive feat in the world. Like if you are able to lift 600 pounds, let's face it, you're in a class amongst few of the world, right? So how can, and also part of inspiration, part of inspiring people, you kind of have to be a little impressive, right? And it doesn't have to be on a world stage, but it could be in a community stage. You have to be impressive amongst those people, not necessarily showing off, but you got to do something impressive. But how can the average person, let's say somebody in a regular town, let's say somebody in my position where I'm just a regular guy, I'm doing regular guy things, I'm trying my hardest to be my best, right? And I have a bunch of kids, let's say I'm a teacher and I teach a bunch of kids, but I haven't done anything extreme, I haven't done anything highly impressive in the world. How can I inspire these kids or these adults and how can I be of inspiration to them if I'm not striving for something worldly, like as a record?
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, I think if you're going out specifically, like I'm going to inspire this specific group of people, I think it's a challenge because then you got to find what is specifically going to trigger them to be inspired, and then you kind of go down that path, which sometimes you never find an end to, you know. And so I think it's better to kind of just focus on. In your own mind, in your own life, something that you can overcome and whether or not people see it as inspiration or people just say, oh, it's not a big deal to overlook it. That's something that, you really can't control. It's something that I think when people go out and go, I'm going to inspire people by doing this or that, that's great. I mean, for me, even doing the 5K, it's not for anyone, just about myself. I mean, all the bros and stuff are getting excited about me doing it, but it's just for me because I just want to do it because I really just want to push because crawling and of course it's a base foundational movement from my curriculum, but for me it's mental. I mean, anyone can crawl. It's not like I'm trying to lift 1 million pounds or I'm trying to sit in an ice box or something. You know what I mean? All I'm trying to do is it's really just a mental toughness. It may take me longer, but I'm still going to get it done.
Wow.
And so people just want to see. I mean, crawling. Everyone can crawl. I mean, if you look at crawling.
Yeah. You're talking about bear crawls, right?
Yeah. And when I say crawling, and once again, it was a foundational component of my curriculum. But with crawling, it's deconstruction of movement. Babies crawl to get strong enough to walk, and then to stand, and then when they stand, they're able to walk. But so it's a basic, fundamental movement pattern that we learn.
Yeah, I think most people can crawl.
Yeah, it's just very challenging and very hard. So it's not a matter you're going to get injured doing crawling. It's just mentally hard, And so for me, it's something that's what intrigues me is mental toughness because that carries over more than just physical endurance and showing, physical grit. Of course, that's hard, but you see that, the fighters that inspire people are the ones that push past adversity, that are able to like weather a storm or weather adversity, a bad camp or an injury and still prevail or still endure. Same thing with, anyone. And I think that's where I find my inspiration. So of course that's what speaks to me and that's what I do. I mean, there's other guys that just want to, that I can tow a boat or something. That's great, bro. If that's what your thing is, if that's what you really inspires you, do it because then there's going to be people that find inspiration in that.
Yeah.
But if you have a targeted audience, like I want to inspire these kids, I think the best way to do is try to find ways to inspire, to get them to inspire somebody because then they find their own inspiration in doing that. Does that make sense? I mean, basically they're just saying, hey, do what speaks to you and what you think, do something you don't believe you can accomplish. So And at that point, they'll find it. And once they find it, then they just kind of get on their own journey. I think that's something you find on your own journey, that people just kind of pick and choose things that inspire them, and they follow it, and then they find their own path. You know?
Sure. And lead by example. Like, don't preach and don't practice what you preach. You got to tell them. And one thing I always tell the kids, like, because I teach at a jiu-jitsu school, adults and kids. And one thing I always tell the kids, I make sure I pick my words the right way. I say, guys, listen, if you're in school or you're in class and I tell you to do 10 to 20 of this, or your teacher says do a 4 to 5 page book report,
right?
You better be the only person in class that does that 5-page book report. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we look at things that way. Like, I might say, hey, class, do 10 to 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
And I'm specifically saying that to see who does 20.
Right.
And the people that do that, those are the people I know are challenging themselves. Those are the people I know can physically do it themselves. But on the other spectrum, I know that the kids that only did 10, those are the kids I need to give a little bit more enthusiasm to, right? I need to inspire those kids a little better.
Right. It's interesting too. I mean, with kids inherently, work with kids, and I've worked with kids a lot as well. It's just, it's amazing when you see them. You can have such a positive or negative influence on a child. You know, it's amazing. Everything is kind of in hyperdrive, and hypersensitive. So it's only, if you're teaching an instructor, you have to really be cognizant of everything you say, everything you do, because things that get overlooked by an adult or someone that's not at their age it's not going to get overlooked by them. So. It's great because you can really they're very impressionable. They'll move on it. So they adapt well because they learn quickly.
Yeah.
Most of us are center. So there's a lot of advantages working with it, but there's so much. I respect that a lot that you work with the kids, because it's not easy, because it can be frustrating because attention spans and them wanting to do different things and doing things that are challenging and difficult because they're not used to it. They want to do whatever's comfortable usually. Mm-hmm. That's where it's hard, but yeah, that's awesome, bro. I think that's fantastic that you work with the kids.
Thanks, man. And that brings me to my next question. Again, I'm in the jiu-jitsu world. I'm in the martial arts world. I've been doing martial arts for the last 11 years now. I'm 26 years old. What is your martial arts background? For those who don't know, I know that you have a martial arts background, but I think people would be surprised that they don't know you.
Yeah, I mean, just my background. I mean, when I was growing up, it was always about judo. I was more of a grappler than anything else. I mean, I focus, for me, it's just, I got more intrigued, with martial arts. It was always something that inherently, my brother did, I did, growing up, but, I was always the kid that was more interested in the training than the competitions. I mean, I was always more intrigued by learning how to be stronger or faster, and I would study. I was the guy, back in the day, back at the library. I was a real studious kid, but I would just go back into the library, and the only books I'd read are how the Europeans were training and stuff like that, just to learn, and see. I get intrigued by that because that's what I love, I mean, when you're in martial arts, I think it's great. I mean, there's some now that guys in jits that are for sport, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's a beautiful art, and like I said, I'm very close with the Gracies, so it's a beautiful art. But it depends on what your focus is. If your focus is winning tournaments, or your focus is just for the purity of the art. So. I think for me, I just kind of started to move toward how to be most efficient in the art, and that's why I started working with a lot of guys, so that's kind of my whole thing, I mean, I love working with, I mean, I love seeing Henner and Huron and the boys and playing with them and trying to use some of my my methodologies and light stuff with them, and that's kind of where I always moved into. So
is that how you got in touch with all these jiu-jitsu and MMA guys? Or
it's funny because I worked with a lot of the guys for a number of years, but I mean, Henner was actually the one that originally named me RULK. He because of my power and my strength, he used to call me Hulk. When he was young, but of Portuguese, H is R, as you know. So then everyone else that didn't know would call me RULK. And then because my Hawaii ties, and it was hey, that's the RULK, and then that's kind of how it all came about, the name. So I mean, I guess it all originated. I mean, if I talk to Henry, he'd be yeah, it's me. So he, even when he introduced me, still calls me Hulk. Here's Hulk, and everyone else who's that? Who's that guy? So it's the RULK or Hulk.
So the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners that are in the know can call you Hulk. But everybody else has to call you RULK. Right?
Bro, you can call me whatever they want, bro. Like, you know, I'm pretty easygoing. I mean, whatever. It's just funny because most guys know me as RULK, and but just if you see Henner usually always will call me Hulk, just because he was the one originally said it. But when we wrote him down, everyone's like, oh, you know, like kicks in, hoist, the whole thing, Henner, you know. So but I'm proud of those boys. They're doing great.
Nice,
Henner, Huron, and you know, they're doing great things.
So he has
seen them in a while, so
he has the ability to call you whatever he wants. He's the one who named you. He can call you RULK. He can call you Hulk. He can call you Mr.
Hulk. You know, Sulk, whatever.
Sulk.
You know,
he's the creator of the name. That's awesome, man.
And he's funny, man. Those two guys. I mean, I'm sure you know them well too, being in the scene. But you know, he's an intense cat. You know, Henner's got a lot of passion for whatever he loves being in front of the camera and the people. And
he does. Fantastic. He relishes it. Let me tell you a little story I have from meeting them. Because I'm from the East Coast, so I go out to the West Coast every so often, and I've been to the Gracie Academy twice. The first time I went, I met Henner, and I just went to visit, and he was there, and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you guys. Oh, you're from the East Coast." He was so cordial, so cool, and you know, he cracked a couple jokes. But the second time I went, which was last summer, I went and again I was with a friend, and I just went to visit. And they coerced me into taking the class, and which I obliged, of course.
Right.
And Huron walks in, and it was just like the whole class got changed just a little bit, you know, because he was so intense. And then you know, he spotted me and my friend. We were partners. And he spotted us and saw, okay, these guys are not from my school. So, and we were both wearing white belts because we didn't have a gi. I'm a brown belt. My partner was a purple belt. So, which I asked for a brown belt. I didn't want to confuse anybody. So he came over the first and like very stern, very intimidating. He's like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Huron. What rank are you?" And then I was like, "Oh, I'm a brown belt. Thank you. It was very nice meeting you. You know, honestly, I didn't want to wear the white belt. Like, she said she didn't have any more brown belts for me. I don't want to confuse anybody or disrespect anybody." He's like, "Oh, no problem." He's like, "Maybe we'll roll later." I'm like, "Oh my god." It was so pretty funny.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Like, you know, Henner is intense. He's the intense one. He's you know, kind of like the spokesman, if you will. You know, like the spokesman for the Gracie brand, and then Huron's kind of the philosophical one. Super philosophical. So they roll even when they roll different too. But then like Halleck is like the stoic one. You know, it's like there's all three of the brothers. They have this very like definitive like characteristics of how they are. But it's awesome. They're good. They're all good kids and good guys and fantastic. But,
really nice guys though. They're running a great academy over there. Everybody at the front desk, everybody was so nice, so cordial. All the students were great, and nobody knew me. They didn't have to act like that. You know, that was pretty awesome. Plus, I'm
here comes Dave. Here comes that guy. The show that guy. Oh, get him.
No, I didn't even say I was show the art or anything. I was just like, "Hey, what's up? We just came to visit."
Right on.
And the weird thing is rolling with students. And you're wearing a white belt because you don't have a belt, and they don't know you, so they don't know how to approach you. Like, they assume you're a white belt, and how do I say, "Hey, my name is Abe. Nice to meet you. I'm a brown belt"? That sounds like arrogant. So I would roll with them, and I would start kind of light, and then kind of go along with their pace. And then after the match, I'm like, "Hey, great job, man. Just let you know I'm a brown belt. I didn't have a belt today." And they're like, "Oh, thank God." Good times, man.
Yeah, they're good guys. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad you know that they're good. They're good people, man. They're good people.
So, I wanted to ask you about your tagline, "Always Can." How did that come about? What is the story behind "Always Can"?
Well, "Always Can" started. It's originated from a Hawaii saying, a very very well known Hawaii saying, which is, you know, if can, if no can, still can. You know, like no matter what, just get it done. And so, from that, we just created "Always Can," and it's just something that resonates with a lot of people, because even people that aren't from Hawaii hear "Always Can." I mean, I've had people from Europe and Asia and South America that hear it, and they're like, "Yeah, I get it," you know, because "Always Can" just resonates with everybody, and it's a double positive. You know, you should like never quit. It's like a double negative. You know, never and quit, but always can, is just a positive. It's all about being positive. And once
Okay.
again, falling back into what I talked about, from whether it be from Mission 120 or doing more than is possible, just kind of never quitting and understanding that, you know, you can do it, you know, you can do it. You just got to put it forward. So it's been interesting. That is one of the things that just really exploded, because people just understand it and they adopt it. You know what I mean? So it's been pretty awesome.
Some phrases, some taglines, like you said, it resonates so quickly. It transcends everything else. It transcends time. It transcends sport. It transcends like what you do, and always can. It's like anybody can relate to it, and immediately, if you have half a brain, you'll understand what it means. You know, so like I feel like anybody could relate to that, whether you work at on Wall Street, or you work at a martial arts school, or you work at ShopRite. Like you understand, and that's an awesome phrase, man. Like,
hey, thanks, bro.
And I'm glad that it has a great story.
I love it. I think it's something that it pumps me up, and you know, like I said, when we hear from, like, you know, even from people that anyone, it goes back to what we talked about. I mean, remember we talked about inspiring, right? Facing adversity and then pushing past it. I mean, it all falls back in line. So to kind of like the catalyst of it all, which is just always can, you just can do it. So I mean, if it helps inspires people, or it helps them push forward, and sometimes the tagline is all that you can say, the mantra in your head when you're doing something that is challenging or difficult. I mean, always can. It's something that I think a lot of people use, and I'm stoked about it, man. It gets me excited.
Yeah, man. That's one thing I've been keeping my eye on for a long time. I'm like your page, but like that tagline. Every time I see it, I go to your website. I go to some websites. I try to buy the shirt. You never have my size. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, that's gonna change. It was funny, but we're about to launch. We're about to go really, really hard with it. I've had so many things going on that I really haven't had a chance to really focus on it. But definitely it's something I want to do. I mean, I've been more inclined to do things with and work together on collaborations, just because I'm always about, you know, working together and collaborating with people. But I think I think we're around the time to just kind of let it stand on its own 2 feet and launch it.
Yeah, so. and you definitely have the fan base to do so, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Definitely, man.
I'm so very lucky, man. Very blessed. I meet people like yourself and all the brothers and everyone. It's awesome. It's all about Ohana, man. All about family and just doing good, helping everybody out.
I can't inspire anybody until I get that shirt. I can't.
You got it, bro. I can send it to you right now. So after you get off the phone, I'll send it on to you.
Perfect, my man. And I got to send you a hoodie. You like? We got some
know, bro. What's up? Come on, two-way street, bro.
There we go.
Street. What's going on, Abe?
Listen,
on, man.
Sharing is caring. It's all about helping the world. You know, I'll give you this, you give me that.
Right on, man. Scratch your back, I scratch mine, man. Right on.
There we go. Last thing, I know you got to go, but could we just touch on your training methodology? And we have a lot of jiu-jitsu fans, right? Maybe go into a little bit about how you train nowadays.
Yeah.
But also, what can some jiu-jitsu guys do that like are trying to compete or very jiu-jitsu specific things?
Yeah, I mean, once again, getting back into we touched a little bit on is my foundational training methodologies and my curriculum. I mean, a lot of my stuff focused, you'll hear me say a lot at different workshops and such about the nervous system, and really trying to focus on the nervous system. I mean, everyone else focuses on just training your cardiovascular system, which is important, and also from a muscular strength standpoint and stamina. But really, the CNS and the nervous system controls everything. It's like the motherboard. It can shut everything down, or it can, work efficiently and let everything else work well.
Okay.
So a lot of my training, especially for grapplers, I do a lot of crawl work, of course, because functionally, if you deconstruct movement, for example, from a jiu-jitsu practitioner, from grip strength to rotational power to shoulder stability, hip mobility, those are all components that flow, so it's about teaching them, working through circuits and pushing them through different modalities that are going to help them with that. So like a lot of my training, a lot of my movement on the RFT, and you've heard of my raw functional training, is really, I do a lot of bodyweight movement, and that's why it's become, really popular globally. Is just because it doesn't, CrossFit, for example, requires a ton of equipment. You need barbells and weights, etc. But my movement, I try not to utilize load. I'll focus on changing sequencing, the sequencing of the movements, the tempo of the movements, the combination of the movements, etc. And body positioning and etc. That those are things that for me are other variables that people don't usually focus on. But in order to do that, especially for jiu-jitsu, you have to watch your weight. You can't pack on too much muscle for a lot of guys because they're in specific weight classes, especially if they're in sport jits. And that's when, even with fighters, when I work with the MMA, UFC guys, that's the same thing, is that they can't pack on a ton of weight. Plus, it makes them slower and they're less mobile.
Yeah, and so, they won't be able to have that snap in their punch and their kick.
Yeah, exactly. So the focus really is just, every specific athlete is going to have a different need. Like all jiu-jitsu guys have different jiu-jitsu games.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you work with a guy that's more on his flexibility and is more slick with his movements, then really just making it more bulky, it's not going to help. A lot of guys go, we'll work on your weaknesses. Well, at the same time, I'm more about accentuating your strengths. You know what I mean? So if that's your game, let's focus on making it even better, So if that's working on grip strength, et cetera. So for me, I love working with wrestlers. I love working with judo guys. I love working with jiu-jitsu guys just because it's so much of what I do,
Okay. There's not much.
That whole connect chain.
Okay. I was going to say there's not much, like, you don't have to change your whole methodology because it already kind of works with what you already do, right? Like
yeah, pretty much. There's base foundational movements like anything else and sequencing patterns that are going to activate the nervous system for conditioning and for overall strength for people who are just trying to get in shape. But when you really, get it specified to a specific jiu-jitsu player or, a group that are focusing on a different way, like, just like AOJ has, like with Mendez brothers, they have a specific style, so their specific style, then they need to train a specific way to make them more, efficient and stronger and more dynamic in that position. If it's Brimbola, they just have to focus and work on it. If a guy's more guard game, then he's going to work more on his back, and we're going to work more, hip mobility and core strength, to focus on different things. If it's a top game guy, different, So it's all about, really being more specific, and that's what I love to do because I don't like general training. That's why I'm not really a huge fan of like WODs and those kind of things. I feel like it's just general. So I try to focus on, changing progressions. You hear me say progressions a lot based upon how people are moving, how their body's reacting, and how the system is responding, and then adjusting it. And that's where you get the highest level of efficiency, I think.
Okay. Now, let's say people are listening, they're instructors, even me. What can I do for a warm-up for my jiu-jitsu class? Because we have a big group, everybody's, not everybody's the same size, but what are things we can use as a warm-up for the class? A lot of the schools a lot of the actual classes, even from CrossFits to jiu-jitsu schools, are using kind of my base level warm-up progression, and it's really a series of about 12 movements that you do. It takes about, even in a large group, kind of can be done probably in about a little under 20, 25 minutes or so. Yeah.
And I know it's a little bit long, but it really gets your body going and the conditioning and puts your body primed up for, hard, right after that for drilling and et cetera. So depending upon that, I definitely after we get off, I'll let you know all the different things you can do.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. You got to pay for that stuff.
But yeah, like I said, a lot of it is a crawl positioning, but even when you're crawling, et cetera,
there's a different
bear crawls. I'm all about body positioning and how you have to be, your body has to be positioned when you're doing it and the tempo that you're moving it in, how you sequence it with the movements, et cetera. So, it's interesting. It's a science, but at the same time, it's still primal patterns. So it's a little of both.
The way I look at it is crawling is, walking, if you consider walking, there's many different ways we can walk. You can run, you can jog, you can sprint, you can go left, you can go right, you can move up and you could jump. And crawling is moving, but just at a different plane. So if you think about it like that, I can move left, I can move right. There's so many more things that go along with it. So to the naked eye, to someone who doesn't crawl very often, they wouldn't understand. But once you introduce, I guess, like you're saying, all these methodologies.
Yeah, because you've rolled before and you understand. If you're crawling forward versus if you're crawling backwards, your shoulder girdle moves in a different direction, and so it's about building that functional strength throughout the girdle and as many dynamic, ranges of motion as you can. And the girdle, the shoulder girdle, and the hip girdle are something that not a lot of people train. There's a lot of injuries that happen to the shoulders, a lot of injuries that happen to the hips, and I think a lot of people focus on just the muscles, the quad, the legs, or the shoulders and the arms. They don't really focus on the actual joints. And so for me, it's a way to actually put a load onto the through the joint to build strength through the joint without putting any stress on anything, like not putting overdue stress on it. Like a snatch is a great movement, but it's an extremely complex movement for an Olympic lift. So a lot of guys like, oh, snatch, but you see more and more people get injured because they're not taught properly, et cetera. So for me, I was like, well, we'll do some inverted like wall series, which is a lot of stuff that they're holding positionings for. It's more of an isometric hold, which a lot of, for example, in jiu-jitsu, that happens a lot of isometric. You see a lot of guys doing grips where they're hanging by gis and holding on for as long as they can to kind of do that, kind of work on that, endurance, that grip strength, but from an endurance component. So we do that, but at the same time, you have to work all elements of it. You should be dynamic and try to be, work on your speed and work on your dynamic power in addition to just your endurance. So those are things it's kind of a science you go into, but I love it. I love working. Usually what I'll work with a school or work with a group, and then we'll design specific curriculum for them. And then from that point, see the guys perform, and usually it works. Knock on wood, it's been pretty right on. Yeah. Guys have worked, done pretty well with it. So
excellent. What would you recommend to everyone if everyone can only do one exercise? Like you can prescribe one exercise that everyone should be doing. Would it be the crawl? Like in a basic form?
I would think it would be the crawl. I mean, if you could just learn, and the only reason I say that is it's something everyone can do because we all did it. We've all crawled. So like if you say, can you squat? Yeah, we've squatted, but have you done loaded squat? Have you done a lunge? Not everyone has done different. Everyone has crawled. Yes. Everyone's been a baby. Everyone has crawled. So it's something your body already knows how to do. And it's such a good movement because if you do it correctly, and your body position's right, it activates your core, you're building shoulder stability, you're building hip mobility, you're working your legs, you're working your arms. And really from a cardiovascular standpoint, your body's having to adapt to that different plane that you're not accustomed to, and it's working harder. So your heart rate increases, you're burning calories. So I would say crawling. I mean, I just think you have to do it just like anything else. Like if you said, what's the number one jiu-jitsu technique? You would tell someone, this, it's this or that. But you have to do it right, because if you're not doing it right, you can get injured, et cetera. So, once again, body positioning is important because, you can injure your wrists, you can start to wear those down. So there's different things that people have to learn, but when it's done correctly, I mean, it's amazing because people build out very, very fast.
Sure.
And,
how are you going to
adapt to it very quickly?
How are you going to crawl a 5K and not hurt your wrists? Are you going to have like special gloves made
it's fun, yeah.
with like pads on them?
I've been training right now. I'm up to about 2 miles, a little at 2.1 or so. So I mean, I'm pretty close. Of course, I have to wear gloves when I'm outside. I've been doing it mostly on the turf, and I sometimes go out to the track and I'll do the crawl. Yeah. But it's a lot of, for me, it's one thing that I'm struggling with is when I get to about 2.1, it's actually not even the muscular fatigue. It's the vertigo. It's just because you're just looking at it for a long period of time. So I'm trying to playing a little bit with breaking it up a little bit to get my body reacclimated, readapt to kind of, work on that vertigo. Because once that vertigo hits hard, then you're pretty much done. It's hard to like bring it back in. Yeah. So I'm trying to like fight it back, but I'm pretty confident I can do it. Always can, but I can do it.
That's
always
right. Can. It'd be a funny scene. Like if I walk into 24-Hour Fitness in San Diego and I see this big Hawaiian dude crawling on a treadmill for like 20 minutes. I'm like, what the heck is going on over there?
So funny. So I always do it. It's funny, bro, because I always do unorthodox stuff. I mean, we haven't had like by the gym. My old gym, there was a drive-through Starbucks, and every morning I would just strap on a sled. And
oh no!
I would just walk I'd walk. It was about a good mile and a quarter. So I'd walk with the sled. We put like 5 plates on it. Just walk. It's hard enough to just walk to the Starbucks, and then sometimes I'd park it in front. But if it wasn't,
and no one's stealing that.
No, it's still not. I would just go to the drive-thru. So I'd be like a car, me, sled, car, and just grab my Americano and
get back to
and then walk on back. But nice. Yeah, it's just like I said, bro. I mean, I mean, a lot of my stuff's unorthodox. Some people think I'm kind of nuts, but it's just stuff that I enjoy doing. So
those people haven't been inspired yet. That think you're nuts.
Like this guy's not inspired. He's crazy. This guy.
So I know you got to go, but how can people reach you? I know you have your online training program. Maybe touch on that and give people the.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my training program, I mean, I work with a lot of guys that aren't close to me. My primary facility is in SoCal in Irvine, California, but I work with a lot of guys throughout the country, actually globally, and just get in contact with me and work together. A lot of it's pretty cool. I actually work with my remote clients even more so than I do my guys that are here, because we FaceTime and they record their video and their movements, and then I analyze it and design specific curriculum for them. And whether you're a competitive jiu-jitsu guy or just someone trying to get in shape, I work with it.
Yeah.
It's been good. Just been getting kind of busy, but I still have, I still try my best to help as many people as I can,
nice.
Wherever they are. So.
Okay. And, but are you open to the public, like your remote training program, or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, totally open.
Okay.
It's pretty much like if they need to get a hold of me, it's just, DARULK, DARULK @TheRULK.com. It's pretty the easiest email ever. So just email me and I'll take a look at it. And I usually get through most of them, that I get, and, we'll get back to them and coordinate it accordingly. But you got to get trained. We got to get you going, bro.
Yeah,
we got to get you set up, babe.
Please do. Let's do it, man. I need to get stronger. I need to get faster. I need to put a little bit of more muscle on these bones.
Oh, okay, bro. I got you, man. I got you. Let's do this,
dude.
I'm
my body type is kind of like lanky, like Huron and Henner, but like 5'10" version, like lanky.
Henner and here, because they're like both of them are like 6'12" or something. Those guys. But yeah, definitely, man. I got you, man. Let me know. We'll get you set up. I'll come. You down in San Diego, right? Where are you at? You in San Diego?
Dude, I'm in New Jersey. I'm in East Coast, man.
Oh, that's right. You're East Coast. That's right. I gotta head out that way, bro.
Dude, if you come to the East Coast, I'll try to set up a seminar and all that fun stuff.
Dude, let's make it happen, bro. Let's make it happen. We just had the guys in Texas are taking off. The guys in Florida are doing really, really well. Yeah, I got to get out there for sure.
Every time I see that you're doing like a beach seminar, I get so jealous. A, because you're doing a workout on the beach, and I can't. And B, because I want to be a part of that. I want to be. You gotta.
We'll do one like in New York City, just dodging taxis, guys. Like just
like Frogger.
Speed crawls. Yeah, like Frogger. It'll just be a gigantic 100 people playing Frogger, like right in Times Square. Just did it.
Perfect,
awesome,
man.
Bro.
Listen, you could set a world record with that. Guinness Book of
we
Records.
could do it. We get the drone, so you can actually look at from the Frogger perspective. Like down, like it's the game.
World's biggest Frogger game, man. We got it.
Bro, it's going down. It's totally going down now. You threw it out there. Always can. We're gonna do it.
Always can. All right, brother. How can people reach you? Social media.
Just on IG, it's at DARULK, DA_RULK, and then my email. And definitely, man. I love to talk to whoever is interested and whoever wants to get in and get some work in, or if I can help anyone, just let me know.
Oos. All right, brother. I really appreciate you coming on. You're the man. You're always inspiring. You're always inspiring me. I hope to talk to you soon.
Mahalo, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate being on.
For sure, man. Take care.
Okay, bye. Talk to you soon. Later. Bye.